Morning folks, back at it again. This is Barrow Valley National Park. I think I'm in the suburb of Mount Colah, or just nearby, slightly to the north, one of the fire trails. Barrow Valley, beautiful national park. Just got a quick maybe 5-10 minutes to profile another eucalypt. Just reinforcing, I did Eucalyptus piperita down at Mittagong, but that's here. That's right here on the higher ground. There's also things like Crimbia gymifera and Angophora costata with a bit of scribbly gum further up, which I haven't profiled yet. But another tree that is completely co-dominant here and very easy to pick once you get to know it is the Sydney Peppermint, Eucalyptus piperita. And I thought I could just do a quick video on this one and see what I can get. It's a bit hard to access this tree. It's on a bit of a steepish foot slope. But the whole group of peppermint eucalypts have this really fibrous bark. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but I've been told that Eucalyptus piperita isn't a true peppermint. It doesn't sort of closely possibly relate to the other true peppermints, but it has all the features of a peppermint. It's got this really fibrous bark and it sort of crumples to sawdust almost. It's really fine. It looks stringy, but when you grab it, it just crumples up really finely. And that's what peppermints are known for, this really finely fibrous bark. And when you go up the tree, once again, it's a part bark. And it's going to be hard to see, but the upper branches go bare again. So it's just another one of those eucalypts where the upper branches go bare. And where the bark stops and sort of the bare stems start, you can have some ribbons. You can have some short ribbons hanging down. It's just a bit hard to grab in this light. It's early and it's cloudy. The sun's trying to come out. But yeah, the upper branches are bare. Now the leaves have a nice bluey green hint to them. A nice bluey green colour. Look, I'm not going to be able to get the leaves off there, but there's a beautiful sapling just here. You can normally find a lot of saplings around. And here's a beautiful piperita sapling. If I look at just look at the base, again, it's got a bare stem here. It's got some tape on it, this one. And then it's got the finely fibrous bark starting down the bottom. So it's not a small seabury, it's a small piperita. Always got a nice bluey green hit to the leaves. If I feel these leaves, they're pretty thin. They're pretty papery. You know, not completely papery, but they're really on the thin side. There's no hint of thickness there, like something like Eucalyptus capitulata. And I've pulled a few off, and as you might imagine, even as I crush these like this, I can smell it. I can already smell it in this still. It's a really still, humid day today. It's already hitting me. It's this absolutely strong peppermint smell. It's really beautiful. Some peppermints have a really, really strong peppermint. I'm thinking of ones like Eucalyptus dives, the broadleaf peppermint, which is more of a tableland species, and things like Eucalyptus radiata, which have really narrow leaves. They're really strong too. But this is really potent. I think you can read anecdotes that the early settlers put it in tea and might have added it to tea or tried to make a tea out of it. I'd only say I wouldn't go drinking too much of it, but I think I've put them in my teapot once or twice. And yeah, it's a nice peppermint additive. So this is a sapling about 5 metres tall. Just got nice alternate leaves you can see there. Sort of red stems. The leaves just don't have the venation that Seabury has. But this guy will happily hang out with Seabury. The venation isn't all that strong, but it is there. Slightly discolorous leaves. I think from memory, I'm going from memory here, I think they're described as being discolorous. Adult leaves are concolorous, juvenile leaves are more discolorous. These ones I'm holding definitely are. A little bit discolorous, maybe slightly discolorous. I don't think they're strongly discolorous. But I always look up in the canopy and see the nice bluey green hint to them. The leaves don't really glisten in the sunlight. They're pretty dull. They're like a dull sort of bluey green. And the thing you can readily find, I might look around for a little bit now, is, that's a bit of a poor example, but these really distinctive fruits. And normally they will litter the ground in really large numbers. They're easy to find. So what I like about piperita is how easy it is to find these fruits. Now, I do agree with what some other people have said. They look a little bit like Carimbia fruits, a little bit. They seem to have these well and truly enclosed valves and a sort of sunken disc. They're very sort of miniature Carimbia-like. And sometimes you just think it's Eucalyptus piperita, it's Sydney peppermint, and these sort of resemble little sort of peppercorns. All that sort of stuff links together, but they're sort of small. They can range in size, but normally they're well and truly less than a centimetre wide and a sort of a centimetre long. These guys are a bit on the small side. I'm just trying to find some better examples, but you never have any problem finding them. They just hit the ground in incredibly large numbers. They're really generous with their fruit, piperita. They drop a lot of, they just drop a heap. And when there's real heavy sort of leaf litter and stick litter, you can easily find them. And that's what, again, adds to making it such an easy identification. I'm just picking them up everywhere here. That's what you're looking for. Some of them can be a bit more distinctly sort of urceolate, like they'll sort of pinch in at the top and have more of a sort of definite urn shape. And there was a recognition at one stage of a subspecies. I think it's called urceolata or urceolaris or something like that. I don't know if people are strongly believing in that subspecies. But you can get these really distinctive, they look really sort of miniature Carimbia-like. They sort of can vary. You just get the top of the fruit being well and truly pinched in, and then it flares out. If you can imagine that, it sort of pinches in towards the top and then flares out again. So you get that really sort of vase type or sort of urn type look to the fruit, rather than the fruit going out in the middle and coming in. In Sydney, Eucalyptus piperita is a really co-dominant tree on the Hawkesbury sandstone, and it loves going down into the gullies. I got a really steep gully here that we're about to go down and look for a threatened plant. Down into there, we're going to get down there somehow. It's a real dominant tree in the gullies. It does get up onto the higher ground with the scribbly gum, but it doesn't tend to be dominant with the scribbly gum up there. That'll be more, scribbly gum, Angophora, maybe Bakeri, maybe Carimbia gomifera country. But once you hit the gully, the piperita is dominant, and that's mentioned in a few books. However, where you go to other areas like where I go to frequently, the Southern Highlands, I'm talking about sort of Mittagong and Wingelow and maybe around Kangaloon and bits around Robertson and those sort of areas. Piperita is still a very dominant tree. It can be incredibly dominant in some of those forests there. And it'll be on sand, it can be on shale, and it can be on volcanic as well. It can be on volcanic soil. And I've seen it getting up to 30, 40 metres down in those parts. So when I learnt it in Sydney, it was a purely Hawkesbury sandstone species. You shouldn't find it on the Cumberland Plain on the shale, unless it's sort of planted, I guess. But once you get out of Sydney, and especially the Southern Highlands, it'll happily get on the different soils. It'll happily get on shale and happily get on volcanic, and it can still be very dominant, and trees can get really tall. But if you're on the Hawkesbury sandstone in Sydney, this is one you got to get familiar with pretty quickly, because they're just everywhere. So that's probably enough for you. Sorry I can't get a better shot of the canopy. They can be pretty tall. They're nice tall trees. Easily, 20, 25, 30 metres. Especially down in these steep gullies here on the creek. And just remember the really beautiful peppermint smelling leaves. Saplings are normally really easy to find. And they're pretty easily identifiable. Just remember the peppermint smell, thinly textured leaves. Some of them might have oblique leaf bases like the stringy barks, but it's not really a stringy bark. But this is one of the species that can sort of throw a lot of uneven based leaves. It's just not totally consistent like it is with the stringy barks. So that's Eucalyptus piperita. Very easy one to get to know if you're starting out. You can get to know that one pretty easily. Alrighty. Just they're very steep, these little bits off the fire trail. There's this awesome dragonfly on there as well. But again, you just do that to the bark, and hopefully you can see all those really fine sawdust bits coming down like that. So it's not really a box. A box won't really do that. It's more a fibrous sawdust bark. I always sort of like doing that to it to show it off, yeah. And again, right at the bottom of the tree. Just so easy to find. There they are.